Hi everyone, so today I have a lot of candle jars to engrave. They are all here, and I thought I would share a little bit more about my process on how I engrave on metal. So on the left hand side, I also have all the names on my laptop for me to reference while I engrave. And yeah, they are all due before Christmas, so let's get started. Alright, so before we get engraving, I thought I would share a little bit more about the engraver that I'm using. So this is called a nail drill or a dental drill. Okay, and the reason how I know is because like if you go to manicure or pedicure, they would usually use like a similar tool, but they will switch out the burrs that instead of using like a diamond burr, they would use like different burrs to do the filing of the nails and other nail things, and for dentists, yeah, it's a really uncanny encounter because I went for a wisdom tooth extraction, and yeah, it's like almost like a deja vu moment because I usually engrave on different items like glass and metal and acrylic and all like different products for clients. And when I was doing the wisdom tooth extraction, the dentist pulled out a tool that looks exactly like an engraver, and he used it on my teeth. Yes, so that's how I know it's also used by dentists. So you can either Google a dental drill or a nail drill. Something similar would pop up. Or if you want to avoid any hassle, what I'm going to do is I will link down the product links to the 3 engravers that I currently have. And you can definitely check those out, okay? And I will broadly explain the differences as well so that you can make a more informed decision. So the first engraver that I got was the Dremel Stylo Plus. I would highly recommend this over the other Dremel tools in the market because this option here is ergonomic, small and lightweight, which is very important, at least to me, okay, when I'm doing engraving, because I want to make sure that I can create a smooth line and I can control it well. I don't think I can do that with a bulky and heavy engraver. That being said, there are also several disadvantages to the Dremel Stylo Plus. Disadvantage number 1 is it is fairly noisy. Okay, it almost sounds like when your neighbor is doing a renovation next door. It kind of sounds like that. I do have a comparison video of the noise level between the Dremel and the other engravers that I have. Is somewhere on my YouTube channel. Just scroll a couple of videos down. You should be able to find it. The second disadvantage is it is not brushless. Okay, what brushless just mean is whether or not you can feel the vibration in your hand when you're engraving. Okay, I would say if you are a full-time engraver or if you are doing a long-term project, definitely you want to consider this feature in mind, okay? Because while it is bearable and is not terribly uncomfortable, it still exists. Okay, and last but not least, the third disadvantage of the Dremel Stylo Plus is it only goes up to 25k RPM. Okay, while it is able to cut into glass and metal and all that, okay, it's not like it's not the highest horsepower machine out there available. Okay, so let's just put it as that, meaning it's not bad, but it's not great. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's about it for the Dremel Stylo Plus. Moving on, the next 2 engravers that I'm going to talk about, they are exactly the same, is the one that you are seeing right now in this video. Okay, the difference is they are packaged differently and priced differently as well. Okay, so broadly speaking, these 2 engravers are brushless, no vibration on the hand, very lightweight, small. It is also higher horsepower. It goes up to 35k 1000 RPM. Okay, that's it. You should also be able to find engravers out there in the market where it goes up even higher, up to 40k RPM. So if you're someone who prefers 40k, definitely feel free to Google for those options. But for now, let me explain the difference between my second and third engraver, even though they are exactly the same. So the second engraver I got is from Laura, and she goes by the name of Ink Studio, and she's from Australia. She does this like all-in-one kit, beautifully packaged, right? So it includes everything that you need in a project from start to finish. Okay, because of that, the price point is higher as well. So I paid a total of 570 Sing dollars, like after the conversion and inclusive of shipping and tax, right? So the shipping and tax is already well over 100, so you may want to check it out and kind of see how much it costs depending on where you stay and what are your local tax rules. But other than that, you also want to consider the electrical power point, right? So the plug in Australia is not the same as the plug in Singapore. So I do have to purchase an additional adapter to make sure I can use it in Singapore. Okay, so moving forward, I then purchased a third engraver, and this is my backup engraver for events, right? So it's very important that when you're doing live events, you want to make sure you have two, so just in case one dies out, you have the other as your backup. Okay, so this backup engraver is the exact same. It looks exactly the same, it performs exactly the same as the engraver that I got from Laura. The difference is the price, I guess. Yeah, so I got this from Alibaba. Okay, it cost me 120 Sing dollars net or 90 USD. Okay, and I was also able to choose the power point, right? Sorry, the plug, right? So there's an option of US, UK, and EU, and because UK is the same as Singapore, I chose the UK option. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful for you to make an informed decision. Now let's move on to the engraving portion. So that is how the engraver sounds like in real life. It is quite noisy, but it's a lot less noisier than the Dremel Stylo Plus. Okay, I'm just gonna put it out there. Okay, yes, okay, so moving on, I will explain the engraving process itself. Before I start any engraving, if I see that the surface is dirty, I will wipe it down with a wet wipe or rubbing alcohol. Okay, once that is done, then I will proceed with the engraving itself. So you can either go for a monoline script, which is what I'm doing here, or a shaded script, which I will put some examples here as well. Okay, so you also want to make sure that the amount of pressure that you apply is even and consistent. Okay, so even and consistent meaning you do not want to apply heavy pressure. Okay, you want to go slow, steady, and let the tool work for you. So there's no need at all to apply too heavy of a pressure. Okay, you know if it's too heavy when your hand starts to get tired quite easily, right? From all the, like if you're holding it really tight and you're applying like heavy weight on the item itself. Okay, and at the same time, you do not want to apply too light of a pressure. Okay, if it's too light, like first of all, you wouldn't even make a dent on the item. But likewise, if it's too light and furthermore, if it's not consistent, right, you may also see that your line is not smooth, right? So to get a smooth line, you want to make sure when you are drawing one line from point A to point B, the amount of pressure applied is exactly the same, right? So consistent, even pressure. Okay, that's how you get a smooth line. If it's not smooth, it's very likely either one, the speed is not right, meaning if you're going like too fast or too slow at abruptly, okay, you would maybe have a skipping of lines, or it could also be the material itself, right? So yeah, let's just blame the material. Okay, so certain materials, right, for example, a low grade metal is gonna be smooth, it's gonna be slippery, it's gonna be very hard to control. So I highly recommend you slow down two things: one, the engraving speed itself, the RPM, and number two, slow down the writing speed, right? Meaning your own hand, like the strokes that you are doing IRL. Okay, so other than that, you also want to consider like, is the metal coated or uncoated, and what type of metal is it? Is it aluminium? Is it brass, copper, stainless steel, things like that? So I do not have a fixed RPM magic number to provide you with, because it really depends on all the above factors that I've just mentioned. Okay, so moving forward, here I am showing you how to draft a design before engraving. Okay, so I am using a ruler as well as a water-based marker or pen to draft two things: one, guidelines, as well as number two, my calligraphy design. Okay, so you can either use a water-based marker or a water-based pen to do this. Something inexpensive would be great because you're gonna wipe it off later on, so there is no need to use like an expensive Molotov one for all acrylic marker or anything like that. Okay, because yeah, you're gonna wipe it off anyway, so don't worry about that. Something inexpensive like a Micron or like a Posca pen, whatever works for you. Okay, so after I'm done with the draft, I'm gonna proceed with the engraving and trace over the lines that I just drew. Okay, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you can hear that in the video, but should it turn up, it's because people are shouting downstairs for not giving way for parking and all that. So I'm so sorry. Yeah, coming back to the video. After I finish the lines, okay, I will then use a wet wipe or a spray bottle. Okay, just spritz it down. Because it's water based, you can easily remove the draft design. Okay, and that would leave your calligraphy engraved design on top. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, just continue watching. It will make sense in a little bit. Okay, another hot tip that I will point out is if you're doing a monoline engraving, use a bullet tip. If you're doing a shaded script engraving, you can use a brush pen, a water-based brush pen. Okay, because that's gonna show you the thick and thins just by using the brush pen itself. Okay, so there's no need to do any like full calligraphy in that sense because you already have the design there. Okay, so this is a totally different project. These are stainless steel cutlery sets for Burberry. Okay, and you can see that the pen ink is not showing up on the item itself. It's almost like it's repelling the ink. So for those instances, I think you can use a marker instead, or you can use a wax pencil such as the Stabilo All pencil. Okay, so that's about it for this video. I hope you would find it helpful for your personal projects as well as your client projects. At the same time, if you're looking to master calligraphy, I do teach an online course. It's all linked down below. It's called the ultimatecalligraphycourse.com. There's also a free class lesson for you to view right now, so do check it out if you're interested. There's no experience required because I teach everything from the ground up, basics, intermediate, all the way to advanced. If not, if you have any questions about today's video, feel free to leave them down below and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, bye bye.